Okay, let's take a look at some function notation. So let's go for f of x is equal to x plus 2. Now some people may have told you that y is equal to f of x, which is sometimes true, and sometimes we can put y in for f of x, but we want to be more familiar with using function notation. F is a function of x. Y is also a function of x, but y is actually a variable. So what if I propose the question, f of 3 is equal to question mark? Well, what does that mean? Well, look directly above the 3. Well, that is an x value. So that means that we are going to be substituting 3 in for x on the left-hand side and substituting 3 in for x on the right-hand side. Therefore, f of 3 is equal to 5. And what that means is we have the point on the graph, 3, 5. But f of 3 is equal to 5. So if they gave you the equation y equals x plus 2, if I wanted the y value when x is 3, I would simply make a table of values. I would put 3 in for x, and then I would find it. So y equals, again, we're going to substitute for x, and we get y equals 5. And then we can put that in the table, and that is our point. So we used to use variables. Now we're going to be using functions. A lot of you have probably seen functions before. So let's say f of x is equal to x plus 2. Well, we just learned that f of 3 means put 3 in for x. So let's say, for example, f of x is equal to 6. Well, this time, is that an x value? No, that is a y value. So we simply take 6 and replace it for f of x. 6 equals x plus 2. And then if I subtract 2 from both sides and mirror the equation, x equals 4, and then I can always write the point down that I just figured out on the graph. So sometimes we're going to give you an x value and you have to figure out a y value like above. Sometimes we give you a y value and you have to figure out the x value like above. So again, let's keep f of x. So f of x equals x plus 2. Now before we asked what was f of 3. Now let's ask f of x plus 5 equals. Well, when we did f of 3, that means put 3 in for x. If we did f of 5, that would mean put 5 in for x. But we're doing f of x plus 5. So put x plus 5 in for x. And I'm going to substitute with brackets. And then I can clean it up. Those brackets are unnecessary. I'm going to scribble them out, but keep in mind if there was a negative in front or anything else to be done, they would have had to be done accordingly, and we get x plus 7. Therefore, f of x plus 5 is simply equal to x plus 7. So, a couple of notes at the bottom. F of x does not mean f times x. F of x is one thing. We do not divide by any part of f of x. or f of number, and we cannot distribute or factor out of or distribute into a function. So keep in mind, functions are all over the place. What is the function of my car? Well, the function of my car is distance based on the input gasoline. And gasoline is a function of oil production. So my car is actually a composite function of how much gasoline I put in, but that gasoline is a function of how much oil production. So my distance function is actually a function of oil production, not only gasoline. So now we're going to start looking at composite functions and operations on functions. So adding functions together, multiplying, dividing, and putting functions into other functions.